In today's world, we are currently in a motion where we become more and more connected. This means for an IT team that machines have to talk with more machines, more and more. And for a developer, this means that you need to consume and expose more and more APIs, and mainly REST APIs. Hello, I'm Cristiana, a developer advocate at OutSystems, and I'm here to show you how you can quick and easily consume REST APIs using OutSystems. Be it because you want to integrate with a software as a service product, or you have an IoT project going on, or even because your architecture relies on REST APIs. Wherever the reason, handling REST APIs can be very tiresome and cumbersome in some cases. You have to handle different JSON responses, you have to handle different HTTP methods. There are REST APIs that are not so well documented, and that can take a lot of development effort. So one way that OutSystems can help you as a developer in consuming all this complexity is to actually abstract it and do some heavy lifting for you. So if you have different responses, you can just copy paste it and the platform takes care of it for you. You just choose the HTTP method and the rest the platform handles for you. So this is all pretty talk. Let's actually see how it works. And so let's start with Service Studio. That is what you're seeing right now. And for the context of this demonstration, I'll use Stripe's REST API. So let's start with a new application. And I want to start from scratch with a blank one. And since this is a REST API, I want to categorize my application as a service. And I'll upload an icon so this can be easily identifiable. Here we are, we have our application, and we have a module that is what holds the OutSystems code. Okay, so and this is where we'll start. As you can see here, we have a logic tab and an integrations folder that enables me to consume or expose SOAP web or services, expose or consume REST APIs, or even SAP remote functions. So how do you consume a REST API, right? And right-click, consume REST API, and you have two ways of consuming. I'll show you the add multiple methods, but what we'll be doing in this demonstration is actually having one or two single methods. So add multiple methods, and here you can upload a file, which will be the OpenAPI specification for the Stripe REST API. And we'll just click Add Methods. As you can see, it retrieves a list of all the methods Stripe's REST API has, and we can do this with only 3 or 4 clicks. I didn't count. And the platform currently is gathering all the information from that OpenAPI specification and creating all the elements and objects that is needed for you to have one time the whole Stripe REST API available for you to code. And here we have. So we have REST API, Stripe's REST API, with all the methods available, as well as all the JSON requests and responses defined in OutSystems structures, which you can see here, right? And a cool thing that we have in Service Studio is that it automatically tells us that this module is not ready for publish, because we have a few conflicts in data types that we need to arrange later. So that's one way of adding REST APIs. But let me go back and add a single method. And this is a different way of consuming REST API methods, but it can be more efficient if you only want to consume a subset of the whole API specification. So to do this, we will need a companion that it will be the REST APIs, in this case Stripe's documentation. So let's go back to it. And we'll start as recommended per their Getting Started guide with the create a payment intent, and then we'll get a payment intent, the newly created one. So a few things that we need here. One of them is the URL, the required parameters, and authentication. And I've done a little bit of homework, and it's basic authentication that we will be using. So it will help us show you how you can do all of this with OutSystems. So let's copy the URL, paste it here, and we know that this is a post and this is a form URL encoded request. So amount we call 200 and the currency be euros. And this is how you explain to the platform that this is a form URL encoded. We'll see that later. And for the response, I can do this in two ways. I can go back to documentation, copy all of this and paste it here, or I can do it in a different way. So since it's basic authentication and per REST API's specification, we will only need this test key as the username. And when I go to the test tab here, I'll have the key, the request, and if I test it, I can see here the response and I can copy it to the response body. So if I hit finish, what will happen is that I'll have that method with the amount and currency and the given response with the structure, and I can see here that is form URL encoded. And that's it. One method down, another one to go. So let's do this again. Advanced API. Let's go back and this will be the URL, copy, back, paste. And since we'll need an input parameter, we will enclose this in curly brackets, payment intent ID. Let's copy paste the key again. And in order to get that response, I'll paste the return ID that I just created using the test feature, and I'll paste it here. So let's see if we have a payment created, and it seems that we have. So we just created, and once again, copy to response body, finish, and here we have another get. We have this payment ID that will be sent via the URL and a response that has the same structure. And this was pretty quick. So to move forward, I'll quickly add another method to list all payments, and then we'll see how we can expose all these methods to an OutSystems application and how to actually use it and see it in action. And here we have our list payments REST API method already implemented, and we want to make this available to be used by other applications in our environment. And one way we can do this is create public server actions. We call this one list payments, and we'll make it public. We will reuse the response copy that comes already from the method, the REST API method, and just say that is the same data, so we should use the same structure. And this is what I've just done. It already gives me an error because our structures are not public, and they also have to be public in order for our applications to know the structure of the data that we'll be handling in our UI. So we have our public action, and in order to make this work, we want to make a request for this method and say that the response that we've been getting here is the same from the API method. And we'll call this payments to make it a little bit more visible. And let's publish. So the platform will generate code and deploy it to the server. And we now have the list payments method available for our applications. And let's use it. So in the background, I've created a simple Reactive Web application and created this screen that is already with some errors because it's waiting for data to show. And let's get that data. So in the screen, I'll fetch data from other sources. Let's call get payments. And I want to use the list payments public action that I've created. And in order to do this, I'll need to manage dependencies in my environment. And what I'm doing is I'm saying that I want all the elements in the module that we've created before to be referenced in this application. And as you can see, here we have the application already referenced with the public action, and we want to use it. So the output parameter should be the same one as the data that we are retrieving from the list payments. And to do this, I'll say that I want to be the response from the method. And once again, after the call is successfully done, the output is the same to the output of the action that I'm using. And in order to use this, go back to the screen, and that's it. I'll need to sort this. This is by, well, actually, I don't want the objects and this. Let's just say that I want the ID and the amount that the payment has. So let's publish and see if this works. So before we actually see it in action, we need to configure the authentication for this environment for the REST API. Let's go back to the Stripe module and go to the Service Center, our developer console, and we have the tab integrations here that lists all the consumed REST APIs in the module. And here we have the API configurations, and we want to make sure the effective username is set. So in this case, for the Stripe API, we only need the username. In other APIs, we will probably need the pair username password. What this will do is that for this particular environment, I'll have this test key. And if we want to make this API into production, we can use the production key that Stripe offers instead of the test sandbox one. Here's the key, let's click apply, and the settings are applied, and the modules that reference this API are refreshed. Once again, back to Service Studio, Payments Manager, and let's see if it works. There it is. And that's how you consume a REST API with OutSystems. So to recap very quickly, you have two methods to consume APIs. One is you upload the OpenAPI specification and you choose the methods that you want, or you can consume them all. Another one is you choose a subset and just add them and consume them manually. Also, make sure that you create public API wrappers, which means that you need to create public server actions and use the API method in this action. And this way you enable all the applications in your environment to use that API. And of course, depending on the authentication that the API requires, make sure that you use Service Center to set the effective values for the authentication in the integration tab. And that's it. So hopefully this can help you consume REST APIs more quickly and efficiently. And if you haven't tried OutSystems, make sure to take a look. It's free and it's forever. Thank you for being there. See you in the next one.